Remember the old days when they used to say half of the money you spent on marketing was wasted? You just never knew what half? Well, that's why I love today, right? Everything is perfect, right? We have perfect analytics, perfect attribution. I can go online and real time see exactly what people are doing, exactly what they're clicking. I can go back to my sales and see exactly where someone came from and know what marketing drove that. Man, it's like being God. The only problem is it's not true. Hi, this is Tom Schwab with Interview Valet. And first, I wanted to give a shout out to Rand Fishkin. Rand, you knew him as from Moz. And then he was known as the Wizard of Moz. Great mind. And now he's got a great company called Spark Toro. And he was recently on a podcast interview, and I heard him talk about the myth of perfect attribution. And I'm like, oh, he gets it. And also understands that the people that are telling us everything is perfect are also the ones that are selling us their stuff, right? So who gives you the perfect attribution, the perfect metrics, and lots of them? Google and Facebook. And they're also the ones selling us the ads. And they're giving us these numbers to show what they're doing is working. But my question is, can you trust the numbers? Are the numbers meaningful? And let me give you an example here. And so podcasts, if I'm on an interview and somebody hears me and they come back to my website, well, is that direct traffic or is it from the podcast? Well, Google Analytics will tell me that's direct traffic. Well, what if I do a Facebook retargeting campaign with them? So they hit my they hit my page there, then they're retargeted, and then they go on to become a client. Well, guess what? Facebook is going to tell me that was their ad that caused that. You see, they don't go back to what the original one was. And it's tough, right? The truth is not everything is perfect. You don't have the vision of God. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So could it be that they heard you on a podcast? Could it be that they heard you at a physical speech? Could it be that one client told another person about it? You see, it's really tough to say with certainty, with down to the penny, that this is where it came from. But yet there's a couple of the big players that want you to believe that everybody should be able to prove that. And it's funny because a lot of people with podcast interviews will say, well, how do you measure all of the data? How, everybody else, meaning Google and Facebook, can give me these numbers. Well, why can't you? And I always think of, by the time there's perfect, quote unquote, data, it's a commodity, right? When the gold rush happened, those people that went out there, yeah, some of them made a fortune. Some of them that were smart and could figure out what was going on, those were the best ones. By the time it was this perfect map, the returns just weren't there, right? At that point, it was the guys selling the picks and shovels that were making the money. And you think about it, the ones that are selling the ads and selling you the data, they're selling the picks and shovels. It's a great book out there called Clickbait by Bill Troy, How Digital Marketing is Ruining Your Business. And he talks a lot about this, that don't get caught up in all the little data that says, wow, we got, this many Facebook likes and we got this many retweets and all the rest of that. A lot of times seasoned business owners have no idea what that means. And they're like, I don't get it, but I guess it's supposed to be important. Well, sometimes it's just snake oil, right? They're trying to sell you more of what they're doing. And I think with all of that, you have to be careful. And so here's 3 things that I would say, if you're doing podcast interviews, that you can do to help with your attribution, and know that it will never be perfect. The first thing that I really recommend is send people to a dedicated welcome page, right? So I'm on Jamie Masters' podcast, Eventual Millionaire. I use this example all the time because now the data's messed up in it. But originally, the only people that ever went to interviewvalet.com/EM were the ones that came from Jamie's podcast. So if they hit that page, I knew that's where they came from. So I could attribute that traffic. That's one way to do it. It's not perfect because other people could still go to the homepage. That's fine. The next one I think is very powerful is to ask. It could be asking in a form. How did you find out about us? Make sure one of the options is podcast, because they may not know which podcast it was, but they'll know that they heard about you on a podcast. Another one is if you have conversations with them. We always do this in our sales conversation. We'll ask them, hey, how did you find out about us? That is a great way. And that's not only the first attribution or the last attribution, which is what most of the time the data does. It's to them what the most important attribution was. So the thing that stands out in their mind. You could also ask it at the end of a sale, right? There's some things where you don't put too many questions before the sale, but on the thank you page, ask them, where did you find out about us? And if all of a sudden you start to see themes come up in there, you'll realize it, right? There's no way to 100% digitize and attribute speaking from the stage, right? There's no way to being in a charity and working with other people to say, oh yeah, this is how much to the penny business we got from that. But if you start asking those questions about, hey, why did you start doing business with us? Or how did you find out about us? You're going to find themes in there. And I think as a business owner, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the overarching theme. What does this mean? Sometimes when I go to Google Analytics, I just get overwhelmed. There's so much data there. But really tell me, what does it mean? How can I grow my business with that? And that's the third thing that I would recommend to attribute anything is to start to question. Question, does this make sense? Do these numbers make sense? Question of, what do I feel in my gut? Do I feel like this is working? Do I feel like it's in interacting with people? As a business owner, you know your business, you know your customers, you know what they resonate with you. So never just turn that over to, here's what all of the data said. Oh, by the way, it's the data that the person that's selling you the Facebook ads has for it. So those are my thoughts. What do you think about this? I know it's a very interesting topic. Some people love the data. They live and die by it. I'm an engineer. I appreciate the data, but I also know that just because there's a number and it came from the internet doesn't mean it's true. Make it a great day.